Hello, my name is Donato Callahan, CEO of BrightInvestor, and here's how real estate investors should be using this platform. First off, you should be using this platform to search and analyze deals, find on and off market prospects, analyze markets, and create instant property reports. So here's how you do that. When you're inside BrightInvestor, for every data type that you click on, there's going to be a quick tutorial that you can watch to learn how that specific data type applies. For this video, I'm going to show you a little more about the actual process. So if you're looking for a market to invest in and you don't know where you want to be buying, that's fine. Let's say you're looking and you're not sure where to go. And you're thinking, you know what, maybe I'll invest somewhere like Milwaukee. Here's what you should be doing. Take that market and look it up. Once you've found that market, you want to go through this process. First off, click appreciation and get an idea of where are home prices increasing. By clicking appreciation city by zip code, what you're going to get is an analysis of where home prices are growing the fastest and which ones are in your price range. Now, the rule of thumb here is growth of 5% per year, which is good. And let's say your home price, your goal is to buy between $200,000 and $300,000. Well, I'm going to look around and say, where are home prices between $200,000 and $300,000 where the growth is more than what the city is doing? So basically an area that's growing faster than the rest of the city of 84%. So I'm looking around, boom. This zip code has grown 87% and the median house price is about $250,000. It's exactly my price range. Or like this area, it's even better, right? $241,000 is a median home price and it's grown by 100%. That's perfect. So what we're going to do is choose to focus in on this zip code. So I'm going to take my little orange pen, drag and drop it on this area. The next thing I'm going to look at is the population growth. So population for zip code. And I want to understand, is this area growing or not? So it's actually slightly declining. Now, what you want is 1% growth per year. So ideally, this should be 5%. So 1% bump per year. So this isn't great. But there's something that we have to look for before deciding not to invest here. We want to go over here and look at the income. If the income is growing by more than 15% over the past 5 years, we're going to have to see. There we go. Okay. So in this case, the income grew by over 30% in 5 years. The rule of thumb is 15% over 5 years. And when you have a population that's slightly declining but very fast income growth, that means that area is gentrifying. And you have lower income people moving away and higher income people moving in. So you have basically a demographic shift. So overall, I like this. The next thing to know about this area and the market overall is it a growing job market, right? So we're going to click jobs and ideally, we would see 10% growth over 10 years. Now, the fact that the job market has been pretty much flat for a decade, not great. Now, what you really want to see, though, is that Milwaukee got hit very hard by COVID, right? They lost from a peak of approximately 880,000 jobs. They lost over 130,000 jobs. So it's basically almost a 20% cut. Now, since then, they've been climbing their way back out of it, and they're almost back to where they were. So I don't love the fact that they've been losing so many jobs here. In fact, you can see that this is an area where the IT industry has suffered, the financial services industry has suffered, government has suffered, manufacturing has suffered. In fact, the biggest attractant here is the school systems, the health systems, and the trade and utilities. So my goal is 10% over 10 years. I don't really like that. This is not my preference. This might be enough to kill this area for me for investing, but we're going to keep going and see if try some more analysis. Now, the next thing we're going to look at if we're going to be investing in this zip code specifically is asset type. We want to click asset type, zip code, because this is what's going to tell us what kind of properties are here. In this case, there's a ton of single family houses and 2 and 3 and 4 unit buildings. So my rule of thumb is 10%, meaning if I want to buy a 2 or 3 or 4 unit building, that should make up at least 10% of the market. In this case, it's 42%, so we're doing fine. So there's a lot of multifamily here. Next thing I'm going to look at is the rent to own ratio. Ideally, this rent to own ratio is going to tell us what people are doing here. So we're shooting for a 30 to 40% rent range. So 12 years ago, over 50% of people were renting here. So not a lot of people wanted to buy and live in their own houses. Now, that range is closer to 32% rentership. So a lot more people are moving here and buying houses. And when we saw the fact that this area is pretty affordable and only $250,000 for the median house price, it makes sense. People are moving here for the affordability. So this shows that we have high demand and that there's a solid renter population of at least 30 to 40%, where we'll be able to rent out to people. So now you start right around the time you want to start looking for deals. So that's where you're going to click search deals, and we're going to put in our filters for what we want. As an investor, ideally, we want to buy off-market properties that cash flow. So I'm going to recommend off-market multifamily. You don't want to spend more than, say, $300,000 because the median house price is about $250,000. And we also want to have a motivated seller. So I'm going to look for someone that's owned the building for over 10 years, that also is a landlord, so they don't live there. They're an absentee owner, and they have a lot of equity, and they own it themselves. They don't own it through an LLC. When I search for those properties, I have over almost 1,800 deals that meet my criteria here, which is amazing. Now, all I have to do is pick one of these deals, right? We'll say, I don't know, this one, and start analyzing it. When we analyze this deal and click on it, this is what we're going to find. In the situation, we know that this property is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, owned by a woman named Sandra. If we want her phone number, we simply click skip trace, because you guys as investors get 100 free skip traces per month. So click this button to skip trace, and we'll get her phone number for you. And we also have her mailing address if you want to send her a piece of mail or other type of marketing. Next, we can also see that linked properties is lit up green. So that means that she owns multiple properties. In fact, she owns a single family house and a duplex. So she's a small time landlord. So she probably owns her own house here, and she has an investment property here. So she's owned this property for almost 20 years, right? She bought it back in 2006. So we want to go ahead and see what the comps say this thing is worth. On this page is where you can filter for sales comps. Simply tell me what kind of comps you want. I recommend trying to get a close exact match for bedroom count, an exact match for bath count, and finding properties that are within about 15% or 10% of the same size, finding properties that are built around the same period of time. And then what we get here is seeing that based off BrightInvestor's initial algorithm for what 4-bedroom, 2-bath properties should be worth, we get an initial valuation of about 127. But when you see where the market's actually been selling recently, you can see that recent sales comps say this property could go for as much as 186. That's a more accurate market valuation. Now, clicking on any one of these addresses will open up the Zillow listing for that property, so you can qualify it. You can, if you also see a discrepancy, like one property says it's a 4.2, but it's really a 4.3, simply click on any of this data and you can change that information yourself. That's also what these pencil icons represent. You have the ability to overwrite any data inside this. So, for example, if you know the property is really 1,700 square feet, simply click the pencil icon and then change it to 1,700 for a more accurate assessment. Next step is looking at the rent comps. Now, we know this is a duplex, so it's 2-bedroom, 1-bath on each side. So you're going to simply say 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment and generate comps. This is telling you that each side should rent for about $900. Now, to qualify these comps, again, you can click on and open the Zillow listing for any of these properties. We can then filter by things like apartment type, condo, etc. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and turn off these properties because we know that each unit is going to be about half of this. So each unit is about 800 square feet. So I'm going to turn off these larger ones and see that we're getting a number closer to about 870 to 890. If you want our rent report to send to a client, or to send to our acquisition team, simply get view rent comp report down here. Next up is our instant estimate for the landlord insurance policy. So this is actually working from our partner at Steadily. All you have to do if you want to actually buy this policy is click this button and we'll start helping you buy the policy. But they specialize in landlord insurance for flips and rentals. Next step, if you're on the phone with a seller, you need to talk to them about, hey, what's going on, or you have an agent bringing you a deal, you need to understand what's going on in the marketplace, This is going to tell you all the market data for what's going on. In this case, you know the home prices are up 11% over the year. Properties are selling faster than they have been for a while, and number of new listings is really far down right now, and the income is growing up really quickly. So all the market data you need to have an informed conversation with someone is just right here. Finally, we have the deal analyzer. In this case, if we know each side rents for about $875, that means that this property is going to gross about $1,750 total. If we were to buy it for the initial estimate of $127 at today's interest rates, we would cash about $300 a month, which would be a 12% cash on cash return. I look for about a 7 to 10% at minimum, but I also want properties to cash flow only closer to $1,000 a month, so I'd probably pass on this deal. But after going through the numbers and you looked at this, you might decide, you know what, this deal makes sense for you. Say you change the numbers on the repairs and vacancy, and now we have our deal. I highly recommend running the numbers on multiple exit strategies to see how much you would make if you were to say flip the property, or if you were to say operate it as a midterm or short-term rental, which you can do with a click of a button. Then when you're done, if you want to add this property to an Excel list, you can download it and skip trace it later. Simply click add to list, and you can go ahead and it'll prompt you to pick which list you want to go ahead and add this to. Or you can, let's say you need to send this over to an acquisition manager, you need to go raise private money, or you need to go and share this with other investor clients, or to wholesale the property, simply click Create Bright Report. What this is going to do is give you a Bright Report with your branding and your colors and your logo on it. So what that means is you can copy the link that's up here in your browser, or simply click Copy Link, and send this to anybody you want. And when they click that link, this is going to pop up on their screen, whether they're on a computer or a phone. That means they can see all the property details, any notes you may have left for them, and because this is a website, they can even interact with all of the comps you've pulled. They can filter their own rent comps, and they can even run their own numbers directly from the report you sent them. So you get all the credibility with none of the liability here, right? You can go raise money, get people's feedback, put together a whole credibility package, send this to end buyers for wholesaling, use this to get your spouse or partner on board, and have all of your data, also helping you get loans for properties as well, all of it in one place. This Bright Report can have your branding and your colors and your logo on it, which is just go ahead and send us a message if you have questions about that. Or you can simply come into your profile section and change those things. Now, as an investor, you may want to send a property report to somebody without giving them all the goods that you know. This is where share settings come into play. Simply click this button and you can turn off any part of the report that you don't want someone to be able to see. It'll still be there for you, but they won't be able to see it. So this is just to protect your information. Now, let's say that you've got everything you need. You've analyzed a market, you've analyzed an area, you found an off-market property, or because somebody sent you a lead, you just typed the address into the search bar and then looked up the property. The next step would be checking out the area around it. That's where we use things like local school rankings to figure out if it's in an area with really high quality schools, or in this case, an area with a lot of low quality, below average schools. We're also going to use this time to look at information such as where all the local franchises are and look to see if it's an area that attracts specialty high income franchises like Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, or if it's an area with a lot of lower income franchises like Dollar General and 7-Elevens. Once you have this information and you want to be able to either A, go back and pull a list of properties, or B, send that report to somebody else, go ahead and click Lists and Reports. Once you're in the List and Reports section, you're going to see every list you've ever generated. You can open that list up and you can download it by clicking this green icon. When you click Download List, it'll also prompt you to skip trace every property you have in that list, and they'll download an Excel file. Or if you want to see any reports you've ever generated, they all get saved right here. This is where you can copy the link for any report, and you can go in and actually change the share settings directly from here as well for any report that you want to send out. Finally, in your profile section, This is where in the report customization section, this is where you can upload your brand, your logo, your colors, and your personal information for all those reports you're sending out. That, in a nutshell, is how you as an investor are going to be using BrightInvestor. Use it to analyze a market that you don't know anything about. Use it to find areas that meet your criteria. Then use the search deals section to find on and off market deals and stacking all those filters. Because remember, all of those property filters on search deals do stack, so you can filter for more motivated sellers. Then use it to skip trace and get phone number information, get sales comps for properties, and then analyze the deals, all before creating property lists you can use to market to and creating property reports that you can use to raise money and build credibility and get people on your team when it comes to doing deals. That's how you should be using BrightInvestor. And I highly, highly recommend that you make sure you finish the onboarding that's available in the bottom left-hand side of your screen and attend our weekly office hour sessions that are every Wednesday night and Saturday morning, which are completely free. Please attend, ask questions, and it's a way you can get one-on-one or one-to-many support in small group setting on using BrightInvestor better. And if you have any questions about deal analysis or levering it for your entire company or your team or just yourself. My name is Dennis Callahan, CEO of BrightInvestor, and that's how you as a real estate investor should be using this platform. Hope that helps.